let's have a look at this one. So today we're going to play chess. A chess play by Howard Altmann, which is a small poem, but we'll see where it takes us. They have left. They've all left. The pigeon feeders have left. The old men on the benches have left. The white-gloved ladies with the grey Danes have left. The lovers who thought about coming have left. The man in the three-piece suit has left. The man who was in a three-piece band has left. The man on the milk crate with the Bible has left. Even the birds have left. Now the trees are thinking about leaving too, and the grass is trying to turn itself in. Of course the buses no longer pass, and the children no longer ask. The air wants to go and even discussions. The clouds are trying to steer clear. The sky is reaching for its hands. Even the moon sees what's going on. But the stars remain in the dark, as does the chess player, who sits with all his pieces in position. So what can we say about this little piece?
Fortune.
Okay, that's a very primitive way of looking at it, but why not? Alexandra?
Well, I think from one point of view, it's obviously about a chess party when two players are sitting and they play, but it seems like he starts not with the beginning of the party, but with the end, because all the figures have left and no one is on the desk. So I'm also thinking that it's a parallel, a metaphor about, well, not life, but some processes in life, because he starts with the end and he finishes with the idea that everything is cycled and it just starts again. Like a circle.
Okay, good. So yeah, when I found this poem, it was like one of the many weekly poems on Guardian, on the Guardian, and they all say, "Oh wow, it's like about the quarantine, woohoo!" Which is, like I say, a very primitive way of looking at it, because it's obviously not about it, and anyway, it's been written some while ago, before this all started. But obviously it's something more. There's something more to it. It's like, if you look at, say, Stephen King, and Stephen King, I know he's most famous for his horror stories. But he has one book which I would recommend reading, which is like Danse Macabre, it's called, which is an essay where he looks at different aspects of horror films and books, and how they work and what is happening, which is really interesting and educational. Could be your like table book. You can come back to it now and then to see more clear. So what he says, it's like he talks about this and that. He touches many things. So it's quite. It's not very big, but I guess it's big for an essay. It's really nice and detailed, interesting. And he talks about the bomb, like the atomic bomb, how it's one of the fears that people have. And then he moves on to Lovecraft, and he says, but that's where the real horror lies, because what is a mere atomic bomb next to the great chaos which is out to get you, which is immortal, which is here since the dawn of the universe? All your human business is just nothing. It's puny, it's tiny. So we may look at this poem and say, oh, it's about puny, tiny human problems, or you may have a look at it and say, there's something more Interesting. What do we notice immediately as we look at it, if anything?
It has a lot of repetition.
Mm-hmm.
Something like he talks about one action
Mm-hmm.
and he confirms that action with have left,
Mm-hmm.
and then he talks about new action again. So it's like a plan. It's like
Mm-hmm.
chronology
Mm-hmm.
of certain actions.
Yes, indeed. Okay. Now, what else we may notice is that it's not two chess players like you thought, but it's one chess player. It's one player, not two. His own, his, her, their own. His pieces are in position, meaning they have not been touched. Okay, good. So an obvious little question is like, why chess? Why do we need chess? What's so special about chess? Do you know about chess? Why do we use chess in like poetry, in films, and in art? What's
Well, it's a very, very ancient game, and it can be used in different. It can be used differently. So, for example, it is usually used as a metaphor of confrontation of broad. So, like two enemies who are equal in intellectual level and who are equal as leaders. So they sit in front of each other and they play this game. And sometimes one of them misses one little tiny detail and he loses. But and it's also a synonym of a political talk where two leaders, they sit and they play this game, but they also talk about great things like kingdoms, earths, people lives, wars, etc.
yeah? So
it's like a very tiny game, but it's very global.
Yeah, so if we make it a little bit more global, then it doesn't even have to be about politics, it's about power, yeah? How one person moves his figures and the figures go where he tells them, basically. And there's black and white, obviously, and we have this opposition and two opposing forces, which are not necessarily political. Again, you can make it a bit bigger. Yeah. And it's Sergei's favorite theme of not having a free will. Yeah. If you're a piece on the board, do you have your free will? Do you not? Which is a big question. And who do you think you are? Do you think you're the person who moves the pieces, or do you think you're one of the pieces on the desk, on the board? So that's again different ways of looking at the game, different points of view of entering the game. Or maybe you're somebody who observes the game from a side. So what kind of game do we have in the poem? Do we have the opposition?
Well, not really. We just talk about the figures without the player. So it's all about the figures.
But do we really talk about the figures? I think the game only emerges in the very last portion of the book. As for the rest of it, there's nothing about chess.
Well, we know the title. We have chess in the title.
Yes, and you might expect either something typical for chess, this special chess notation which can easily be used to rhyme with something else. You might expect a description of a chess game, but then again, do you really think that a man his suit is one of the chess pieces. Maybe he is, but it doesn't say so.
Well,
so the chess, I mean, the chess must be central to it because that's the heading of the poem. But it isn't until the very end of it, which might be a sort of a chess game, which often means the opponent is taken by surprise.
Well, okay, so for one thing, it doesn't have to be obvious, because if you look at Lewis Carroll and his Alice, the second part, it's all about chess. If you read it with the commentary, then you'll see it, but you don't necessarily see it when you read the book. But when I read the poem, I didn't feel like these guys were pieces on board. Maybe they were potential players, maybe not. But I like Alexandra's reading. It's good. It's interesting. Because yes, indeed, it's like they're living like figures are leaving the board. But what we have in the end is the chess player sitting on his own and still waiting for an opponent, and his game seems to be untouched, not even started. Even though the world crumbles to the end, he is still in position. So that's, I guess, the biggest opposition here, order and chaos. So the world is decomposing, right? And on one hand, again, you can say, oh, well, it's just evening comes, and there's a person who's very lonely, and he came to a park with his chess. He set up his pieces in position, and he's sitting there waiting for someone to come and play with him. But nobody wants to play with him, so he spends the whole day just waiting. He sits with his pieces in position. And then the evening comes and people go home, and it turns into night, and he's still sitting, waiting, hoping for someone to play with him. That would be one story, quite touching, I guess, about loneliness. Yeah? How there are so many people around him and nobody comes to play with him, play a game of chess. Or you can have a look at it like have left in more universal sense, like they have vanished from this reality. The reality decomposes, and he is the last one who remains. Or what do you think about it?
Vanishing, meaning they are all dead.
Not necessarily dead, but suppose the world is decomposing. This reality ceases to exist. The word dead is meaningless because they're not dead as such, like falling down and they're dead bodies. Oh, they just disappear because the reality itself disappears.
Well, the reality can never disappear.
Who says
that's why
so?
It is reality.
Well, language is a silly thing because obviously it languages what it knows. So if you call it reality, you imply it's the reality. It could be a reality. Then again,
it can't.
How do you know? Have you seen any other realities?
No, I haven't. That's
so how
why
do you
it's
know?
The reality.
How do you know? If you went out and there's nothing, then you say, oh, well, there aren't any more realities. But if you never done that, if you never left this reality, then how do you know there's nothing else? Then again, I found something interesting about the word reality. Do you know realim in Hebrew? It means poisons. Real means poison, and realim is like plural, means poisons. and it's like the same word which would be used for the word virus, in fact, because virus literally means poison in Latin. So reality is a virus, as a kind of a poison. Well, anyway, we still have the idea of at least two realities. We have the Bible here in the poem, so if we have a religion, then we have at least two realities, maybe more. It's like if it's Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, then they have more realities. They have different planets with like gods and semi-gods, different guys. If it's Christianity or some Judaic tradition or Islam, then we have this reality, which is temporal, and the other reality, which is eternal. So still, at least we have two realities. Yeah. Or if you don't want to believe in other realities, okay, that's fine with you. Why not? I mean, it's your choice. You can say they just disappeared into nothingness. Why not? Then you have a reality which exists as opposed to nothingness. It's your choice, but still they have left. They're no longer part of this reality. Comments?
I think I look at it a little bit in a different way because, chess, it's all about the order. So if you look at some theories, some people say that the reality consists of order and chaos, and they both come together. So chess and the game of chess, it's all about the order, the chronology, the logic, the right steps. And in the poem, it's about the chaos. So it's like the opposite of the order, the opposite of the game, or like the double meaning. So as you said, they all deconstruct, but at the same time they stay together. So deconstruction is the opposite of construction, but still they're quite similar. So at least that's what I think.
Yeah, good. So his pieces are in position means like ultimate order, while the world around just, let's say, decomposes. Yeah, so that's one opposition. Okay, what else? So some people...
How can you coexist? How can you have all your pieces intact when the world around you is decomposing?
We'll have a look at it, because we have here different layers or circles. We'll see. We'll have a look at it. It's a good question. We'll have a look at it. Okay, so yeah, some people think that the game of chess is intellectual, and if you're clever, then you win the game. But it's not true. The game of chess is mathematical. It's about, really algorithmical. A computer can play well this game because it's all about remembering the moves and the options that you have after each move. Because the number of moves is final in chess. And if you know each position, then you know where it may lead. Then you make or not make that move. So it's really more about memory than being clever. Yeah. Unless you go out of the game and you do something unexpected which has no relation to the game. When we were discussing the Neil Gaiman's poem about, what was it, the man who went to the forest, I think I posted it in the group, the film that he made a script for the Doctor Who film about the Cyberman, and they had chess in there, and there he went out of the chess game. and won, because he went out of the game. So that's the only way in which a person is more powerful at the game than the computer, in the sense that a person can go out of the game and do something unexpected.
Smash the computer.
Smash the computer, smash the board. Again, like in, I think there was that little scene in the Beauty and the Beast, where that big guy Gaston tried to play chess and he couldn't, so he just smashed the pieces. Again, but that's not the kind of game we want to have. Again, right. So yeah, chess is really more about order. Now let's have a look at the order at which the world gets decomposed. Is there any logic in it? The pigeon feeders, the old man on the benches, the white-gloved ladies, the lovers, the man in a three-piece suit, the man from a three-piece band, the man with the Bible, the birds, the trees, grass. Is there any logic, or is it just random? Okay.
Certainly there is logic in it, and I'm just thinking, if he only talks about figures but also compares them, well, there is this type of typology when you type people in different types. Sorry for typology. And it seems a little bit like that. So he takes groups of people and he labels them, and he names them as groups of people who basically, they create the environment around us. And so he talks about them in a certain order. I don't know the order, but I know that there is some kind of very specific logic.
Right, so what we have, what do we have? Can they be related to the pieces, like pigeon feeders, like pawns, the old man like rook, and the ladies like, I don't know, knights, and the lovers like, I don't know, bishops, the man like the king or like the queen. I don't think they're really related. I don't see any obvious connection between them, but we do have some logic in here. I guess if it decomposes and in the end we have the highest order, then we may see that it starts decomposing with the feeblest layers, with the weakest layers. Yeah. So the weakest means less organized, less personalized, maybe. A different. Again, what he does here, when he writes the poem, is he shows us, he composes the world by showing it, and he decomposes it immediately by saying they have left. Yeah, so he shows us something and then he says have left. So it appears and disappears, level by level. So we start with they've left, they have all left. How do we feel about such a beginning?
Well, something really pessimistic. And again, the repetition and the modifying word all immediately creates an impression of a disaster happening. They've left, they all left.
Not necessarily a disaster, not necessarily a disaster, okay. But it's like, oh, I'm alone, so alone. There's no one, not anyone. Maybe.
Yeah.
So do we have a question? Who are they? Why have they all left? Why is it important?
Well, maybe, and that's the question answered in the lines that follow.
Mm-hmm. So they have left. That immediately creates a separation. Not we, yeah, but they. They means there's also someone who is not they. Yeah, I or we. So we have the separation. They who have left, and not they, us, who are right. If you have left, then there should be something right. And if you have left and right, then there has to be something in between, something third. Okay, so we start with really annihilating all and pointing out that there is someone, something that's here. They have left, then someone has stayed. Someone is right. Okay, now we have the pigeon feeders have left. So the pigeon feeders. So to start with, first of all, it's plural. Lots of people, pigeon feeders. But do we see them? Do we see these pigeon feeders? Can we imagine them? Are they male, female, old, young? Can we see them from the poem?
No.
Mm-hmm.
It's probably made more difficult because the writer uses the word feeder.
Mm-hmm.
A purely technical word that replaces a possible picturesque grouping of old people who are feeding pigeons with lots of pigeons coming over to eat something, or small children who might be playing with pigeons and so on. There's nothing of that sort. There are pigeon feeders, and of course we know that the word feeder can also have a technical meaning. When you insert some paper into your printer, you also do that through the feeder. You feed your printer the way they feed pigeons in the poem.
Okay, so we have, apart from feeders, like again food, something basic, we have the word pigeon, and again, are pigeons very special birds? City pigeons?
Birds, and they're also considered to be like, an analog for rats.
Yeah, exactly. So the same as these feeders have no face, and they don't seem to be very intellectual. We don't know, but just from here. The same, they are connected with pigeons, so they have something of pigeons, because we have the word pigeon, so we connect them with pigeons. And pigeons are what? Grey, faceless, crowdy, yeah. Something that you can't tell one pigeon from another unless you spend a lot of time making yourself familiar with them, right? So basically it's the faceless crowd. The lowest level, which disappears first, is people who have no identity. Who have no identity whatsoever. Who are more on the pigeon level than a human level. Yeah? Have no face. Again, what are the pigeons, city pigeons? Are they nice birds?
Birds, they're not nice, but they're not nice. They're just all around the town, and you can see them everywhere, and they very, like, how can I say? So, for example, when I walk down the streets and when I see pigeons, I would never stop and look for them because they're not interesting birds for me. They're not bright, they're not quite beautiful, and I see them a lot, like every day, wherever I go. So they're like, you know, the gray mass around you. Yeah. And I also feel like he says that the pigeon feeders, and feeders, they're not like personal. It's not like you come to the restaurant and you have your own portion. They're for everyone, and everyone can come and maybe fight for the food, but it's a very public space and it doesn't belong to anyone. It's just there.
Yeah. So that would be the first level. Of course, I'm not saying that all pigeons are like that. Obviously, we have some very beautiful, interesting pigeons, but we are talking about like park pigeons, city pigeons. Okay, so they have left. Then we move to the next level. The old men on the benches have left. Okay. So what do we think about the old men on the benches?
I think about old men and old women who sit there and gossip around people around, and just that.
Sergey?
People who also have not very much things for the day, so they just go to the park, they sit on the benches, they do pretty much nothing. They might read a book, they might look around, but they just, you know, they're having their own time.
So again, we don't really see like faces, but at least we know they're old men. And old and on the benches, it's like very static. On one hand, old men, they could be like, oh, they're wise, could be. Wisdom connected with old age. But at the same time, they're on the benches. The benches are where you just sit down and do nothing. When he says have left, it's like they disappeared together with the benches. So if the pigeon feeders, the characteristic was pigeon, then here the characteristic is the benches, not going anywhere, just sitting. So maybe the old man on the benches is something that is ready to go, because it's old and it's not doing anything anyway. Yeah. So at least now it's people and not pigeons, but they're still not quite there. So they're second to go. The old men on the benches have left. Then we have the white-gloved ladies with the Great Danes have left.
And this is quite interesting. Unlike the elderly people, which we often see, not today, but at least under normal circumstances, unlike the pigeons, which we can see today, the white-gloved ladies, I think, are much more unusual, because ladies do not normally wear white gloves these days. They are definitely things of the past.
Well, you know, I looked out of the window today. I saw lots of people wearing gloves. Some of them were blue gloves, some of them were white gloves.
Yeah, and then it's an irony that cheap plastic gloves, latex gloves, can be worn now, and indeed must be worn now if you emerge.
If you're crazy.
Well, at least that's what we are told, and it's cheap and plastic and all. Well, there's something about, and also smelly, and there's something that is a direct opposite of an elegant white glove, as the one you might have seen in the first part of the 20th century, for example, on very rich ladies dressed beautifully and so on.
So in fact, using such gloves would be a better idea, because rubber gloves, they're very bad for your health. They just make you sick, really. Same as medical masks, they just make you sick. Because your skin can't breathe underneath them. It's not a good idea to wear rubber gloves all the time. A really bad idea. But anyway, when we say, and indeed, it is like a parody on what it should be. So, but if we say the white-gloved ladies with the Great Danes, what kind of feeling image do we have? So if we have the pigeon feeders, it's like, okay, it's a common crowd, faceless. Then the old men on the benches, okay, maybe they're interesting, maybe they're just lazy and smelly. Now we have the white-gloved ladies, which are clearly a contrast to the first two. Why white-gloved? Why the Great Danes? Why ladies?
And why Great Danes? Which I understand are huge dogs.
Yes, indeed. So white-gloved. Why do you wear white gloves? Is it practical?
It's practical, and I think usually some ladies, like, from aristocracy, wears gloves, and it's very old-fashioned. And it also means that you won't work with your hands, because your hands are in white gloves, so you have people around you who will do, things for you. And about Great Danes, it's very common actually for people from high class to have big dogs and to walk with them. And like there is a story about a Venetian duchess. Well, she wasn't a duchess, but she was an aristocrat, and she was very eccentric, and she would always go down the river in Venice, and she would walk her big dogs, and no one would come to her. So I just thought about that.
Yeah. So we had like middle class. Now we have the upper class, and it makes no difference whether you're from lower class and you're just one of the pigeons, or whether you're from high class and you're great and you're a bit foreign. Yeah, Danes, like Danish. You're a bit foreign. Again, it's something that is connected with the idea of aristocracy being a little bit foreign, because aristocratic families, they don't really have a nationality, they have bloodlines, right? So they're all a little bit foreign. And of course the word great here. And they're ladies, again, which is, maybe it's more elegant than a gentleman. White gloved, they're all in, like you say, they're not working, they're not touching anything dirty. Yeah. But it makes no difference if you're an old man or if you're a posh lady, they all disappear. So being rich and posh and the top of the elite doesn't save you. You're still somewhere on the bottom. So that's number 3 to go. A bit higher than the old man on the benches, but still not big enough. Because how do you define yourself? Because it's a dangerous business. How do we define ourselves? Define. Yeah, like fine, and we define. So you may say, oh, I'm a pigeon feeder. You may say, oh, I'm an old man on the bench. You may say, oh, I'm a white-gloved lady with a Great Dane. It may be elaborated, it may be clever, but it's still, it doesn't say who you are. It's something external. Yeah? We know nothing about the inner world. Again, there's still there's no personality. It's only something external. So they go too. Then we have the lovers who thought about coming have left.
Well, what sort of space is it where lovers want to be? Maybe they had another thought because they prefer quieter places where there are not too many people. I think that's pretty common. But interestingly enough, many of the people have already left. So what prevents the lovers from spending some time there? They have the park to their own. Why not? And yet they think of coming, then think again, and they leave, even without ever making appearance in that park spaces.
So lovers are a bit more individual.
Oh yeah.
Because if it's white-gloved ladies, it's still something something vague, something not clear. Again, it's just a crowd of ladies. If you say the lovers, I guess you imagine two people. You don't imagine a crowd of lovers.
Yes, usually two people.
And again, it's a little bit more personal, because now at least we talk about feelings. They're not saying an old man from the bench and the white-gloved lady who thought about coming. They say lovers. So love is next here. But again, it's what kind of love is it? It's higher than being rich in this world. Yeah. It's more important. It is more organized. Let's say has more personality. But still, they have left too. Who thought about coming have left. Again, this beautiful play, coming and living. They think about coming, but they're living. So they can't make their mind coming or going. Still, they don't have the will, maybe, strong enough. They just change their decisions. Maybe that's about their love too. Maybe it's a kind of love which isn't a true love, which is here now, then something changes and they change their mind. Because this love is more in the mind and the body than in the heart or soul.
And again, love is usually something that revives, something that is connected with life. This place looked pretty deserted.
No, it's really crowded. Because
really
we see all these people. We have lots and lots of people in here, and then we decompose them. But the place itself is crowded as we decompose it. It's not deserted. It's really, really crowded. In your mind, in your thinking mind, you say, but they have all left, which means the place is deserted. But in your perceiving mind, you see all these people. One crowd, another crowd, another crowd, more. You see all those people. You have the idea, the feeling that the place is really busy. That's the beauty here, that at the same time you feel that, you see that the place is really, really busy. There's very little air, there's no air, lots of people. At the same time, they all disappear. So it exists in two states at the same time, being busy and being empty. Okay. So it's lovers, but they are thinking rather than feeling, who thought about coming, not who felt like coming. So it's not a real love. Again, it doesn't. It's not valued high here. It's about thinking. It's about being uncertain. Something that moves, like wind in May, like summer clouds. And they have left too. So it's like each time you try and get a little bit higher in this order, each time the attempt is not enough. It's not enough, it's not enough, it's not enough. Now we have the man in the three-piece suit has left. Who is it? Now we get to people. Now that's singular, yeah? You notice at first we have just a crowd, a mass. Then we have, again, old man, white-gloved ladies. We see them, but still it's a crowd. The lovers, a bit more intimate, more personal. Now the man. Now it's something more personal. It's one person, not a crowd. Okay, the man in the three-piece suit has left. Who is it? Who's wearing a three-piece suit in a park?
Well, if it is an old park where we see the ladies in white gloves, then there's nothing unusual about seeing a man wearing a three-piece suit. If we think that the park as it is exists today, I don't really think I've ever seen a man wearing a three-piece suit in a park.
Okay, who would it be? What kind of a person? If you say a man in the three-piece suit, who do you think he is? What's your first idea?
A well-dressed man, a rich man, an old-fashioned man. Maybe again a man that looks a bit strange because it's probably warm and wearing three-piece suits makes him really uncomfortable, but he still is wearing a three-piece suit anyway.
Okay, why?
For some people who wear suits, and I'm speaking here from my personal perspective, it's a sort of an armor that you put on before you take the risk of getting out. So you emerge in the world outside your little personal space, being in full armor.
Well, I guess people usually connect it with like a businessman, or somebody who looks businesslike, who minds business, who has to look smart. So here we have somebody who apparently uses his mind. It's like implied through the clothes. Just it doesn't have to be true, obviously, but it's like our association. Like we see glasses, it's brainy specs. If you see a character and the character is wearing glasses, and probably it's they mean it's a clever character who's a scientist or somebody. So a man in a three-piece suit has left. But at the same time, he is in pieces. He's not whole. Yeah, he's in 3 pieces, he's more individual again. Still not enough. So mind is a bit higher than fleeting feelings in this hierarchy of order. Yeah. So what it says, if you're a lover, then your feelings may change any moment. You're uncertain. It doesn't really stabilize you in any way. If you're doing some mind work, then your organization, your order is a bit higher. But still, it says, still you're in pieces. Still you have not found your completeness. You're not complete. And again, it's like they're defining themselves through clothes. White gloves, ladies, a 3-piece suit. Yeah? Obviously, as long as you define yourself through some external bits, like, I'm wearing some amulets, I'm a very spiritual person, or I'm wearing a 3-piece suit and specs, I'm a clever businessman, or I'm wearing white gloves, I'm so aristocratic. As long as you define yourself through something external, it's not going to work. There's no personality in it. Because who has personality, you or your 3-piece suit? Yeah, it's like coming back to Shakespeare and the Taming of the Shrew, when, I think it was the Taming of the Shrew, where it's like, no, you can't go out dressed like a clown. And he's like, well, but are you coming with me or with my clothes? So it's a mistake which people make really often, like walking out with the clothes rather than with the person, when the clothes define the person.
A question, if I may.
If you may.
I need a minute to feed not a pigeon but a crow who's been waiting for some 10 minutes. Is it okay if I leave you for about 30 seconds and then I'll be back?
Okay,
I'm sorry for this pause, but
let's have a quick break. I'll get some water for my tea too. Okay.
Okay.
2 minutes, 3 minutes.
Okay.
Ready to
Excellent.
continue? Okay. Whew. Now we get to the interesting bits. So we have progressed to mind, but mind is still not enough. If you're operating from mind, you're still in pieces. Next line is a kind of magic, because a man in a 3-piece suit turns into a man who was in a 3-piece band. Can you tell me something about this kind of magic? What have we done here? Okay, so it's... Mm-hmm.
No.
No, please do. Please do.
Keep going. Yeah.
Okay, so on one hand, it's almost the same. It's a 3-piece, but a suit turns into band. So a mind turns into what? Art, expression, craft, being a part, magic. And if a 3-piece suit, it's like the man is in pieces, then the man who was in a 3-piece band, he was a part. He was not in pieces, he was one of the pieces. Yeah? So he was a part of something bigger, or something that had more meaning than the man in the three-piece suit. And again, if it was 3 of them, and they all had the same idea, then 3 people in a band, it's more than 3 people, it's a band, it's something new. It's something of a higher order again than 1 man in 3 pieces. So it looks the same, at the same time it's completely opposite. Yeah. But still, it's not enough, it's not enough, so art is not enough. Yeah, so faceless, not enough. Being old, inactive, not enough. Being aristocratic, upper class, posh, not enough. Being elegant, or maybe having some sense of dignity, still not enough. Having some primitive feelings, like lovers who thought but then just left, again, not enough. Operating from your mind rather than from feelings, again, not enough. Being a part of a whole, and again, art means being a bit connected to something more than yourself, because if you do some art, apart from your basic skills, you always need some kind of inspiration. Art, it doesn't matter what kind of art. So the man who was a 3-piece band, yeah, maybe it was one person who was playing 3 instruments apparently, or maybe he was a part of a 3-piece band. Still, that's art, that's a level higher, even if it was one person playing 3 instruments, in which case he's a little bit silly and funny, but still he makes more sense than the man in the 3-piece suit. Still, that's not enough. Then we have the man on the milk crate with the Bible has left. And of course, the man in the 3-piece suit and the 3-piece band, we have the word piece, as in pieces of a chess game. Now we have, so the man in the 3-piece suit is not very individual. Still, we have lots of people who are wearing 3-piece suits, lots of people who are doing some business. Maybe he's just selling, I don't know, vacuum cleaners to people in the park. Maybe, we don't know. Or some magic elixir to people in the park. But the man who was a 3-piece band, that's something more interesting. So you don't see every day a person who plays 3 instruments at the same time. So he's one man at the same time he's a band. So that's, again, it's more individual.
He's in the band.
Well, he's...
Yeah, I just said, isn't it like he's in the band of 3 people? Like, I don't know, a boys band or a girls band?
Well, here, I don't know if that's the text or if it's the poem. It says who was a 3-piece band. So he was a band with 3 instruments. But either way, he's doing some art. Maybe on his own, maybe with somebody else. Yeah. And now we have the man on the milk crate with the Bible. Something even more odd, even more weird, queer. Who is the man on the milk crate with the Bible? The milk crate is the box where you put milk, basically. It's big and you can stand on it. If you turn it upside down, do you know these people who stand on a box, on a milk crate with the Bible, and they say, "Oh, the end is near!" It's that kind of person. So why do we put him in our text?
We have all sorts of people. We have business people. We have aristocratic people. We have musicians. and now we'll have to have some people who might look crazy just to complete the picture.
But why this kind of crazy? Because we have lots of kinds of crazy.
I don't know. I wouldn't call him crazy. Because recently, just yesterday, I was Googling about milkmen, and actually I found out that they're quite widespread, at least in America these days. So, because America is so big and you need to have a car to travel to shops, so it's more convenient for people in little towns, especially in Central America, to order milkman, so he would bring the milk.
But he's not a milkman.
No, I'm just talking about that it's not something old-fashioned to have a milk crate. And I think for little towns to sit on a milk crate with the Bible, it's not a kind of crazy. It's just a kind of life in these towns.
But generally, this image, it's a really classical image, and it's used in films. And always it's the crazy guy. The end is nigh, the end is near.
Okay.
So that's what, if you have a man with a Bible on a milk crate, then you automatically see that he says the end is nigh, or the end is near.
Yeah. And
It's like a classical image of a town madman.
And we don't have, I don't think we have milkmen in the parks, lots of them. We have some people who sell ice cream. Again, it's a classical image of a park.
Oh, we don't have the milkman, we have just the milk crate. So it's not connected to milkman, it can be a milk crate from a shop, it doesn't have to be from a milkman. Okay? But it's just a part of the classical image. Yeah, so usually they stand on the box and they're a bit crazy. And nobody takes them seriously. Nobody takes them seriously. So there's a very big irony in here, yeah? Because that man here is on the top. He's connected with the Bible. I don't know why they have the little b, which has to be capital B in the Bible. Maybe it's just a mistake. So he's connected with the Bible with, let's say, something spiritual, which is higher than art in the previous line, higher order than art. At the same time, in our regular imagination, he would be somewhere with the pigeon feeders, or the old man on the benches, just somebody crazy, lunatic, completely useless, and nobody takes him seriously. Yeah, again, it's a part of culture. He doesn't have to say the man with the "and is nigh" sign. He just says a man on the milk crate with the Bible, and you know the rest. At the same time, he is completely correct in this case. The end is near, and as he is the one who knows it, he's the last one to disappear of humans, because that's like the first part of the poem where we are dealing with the human part, with the society. Yeah. So you see, there is this progress, there is this different levels of order in how the world is decomposed, from the weakest or the most faceless to the most individual and connected people. Yeah, it's about structure. Again, if you go to John Donne, that's what he says a beautiful line. Whatever dies was not mixed equally. Whatever dies was not mixed equally, and that's important to understand, really, because it's about everybody. You, me, it's about everyone. It's about having an order, the same as a crystal with its rigid structure is harder to destroy than something softer, which does not have this rigid structure. It does not have this order. So you do need some discipline. You do need to be equally mixed. You need to have some core, some individuality, some personality, some connection. Yeah? That's what we have here. And on the top of this society, we have this person who seems to be totally mad, crazy, a lunatic, but who has this order and connection, because even if he's mad, in his madness, he has his personality. Yeah? Because he follows his madness, even if it's madness. Maybe he's not mad. In this case, in this poem, he is right. He's not mad. He's the only sane person, because he knows and understands it. But suppose even if he was crazy, he's not like the lovers who thought about coming then left. If he says the end is near, he will say it every day, anytime. Yeah. And he's here on the top. And then on him, we have lots of men in human society. We only have the white-gloved ladies. Everyone else is pretty much like old man, the man, pigeon feeders, faceless, lovers. Okay, maybe a man and a woman, but we don't see them. We don't see a man and a woman. Again, we know they're man and woman, but they're faceless. And the man. So this society is mainly about men, seems to be. The ladies here represent the elegant, aristocratic part of the society. Again, it doesn't have to be about it's chauvinistic, it's all about man. It's about the kind of energy. Yeah, so a three-piece suit is more male energy, even if a woman is doing it. The man on the milk crate. Again, usually you imagine a crazy guy rather than a woman doing it. Okay, and here we finish with a human society, but he says they have all left, and it's like he doesn't mean just human part, because the world, he says, is more than humans. They have all left means the bird, even the birds have left. Yeah, you think, okay, we've dealt with humanity, now we have nature, we just have ourselves, we can have a bit of rest. But no, the world keeps decomposing. Now we turn to nature, and it's not eternal. The birds have left. So the birds are somewhere in between. On one hand, they're animals, at the same time they can fly. So they're somewhere in between man and nature, let's say. Because nature is, again, a funny word, because everything is nature in this reality. I mean, how can it not be nature if it's a part of this? And we say the birds, we don't specify what kind of birds. It doesn't matter. It's birds in general, birds like in between humans and animals and trees. Now the trees are thinking about living too. And the grass is trying to turn itself in. What can you tell me about it?
Well, it's it might be natural for the birds to leave, at least they come and go, while the trees are something not only static but also something that is a sign of stability. Some of the trees were planted hundreds of years ago, and they are still there. Again, very often when we look at the trees, we might imagine someone else walking on the trees, or someone planting the trees, our grandfathers, and it is a sort of a connection that the present establishes with the past. If the trees are gone, the connection is lost. There's no longer anything stable. There's no longer anything that connects the past with the present, and consequently there might be no future.
Could be. Alexandra?
About the birds, I agree, but I also think that, well, you said that, but I will just repeat that it's just birds in general. And about the trees, when I think about trees, well, trees, they are alive, but still they very static. So like the only narratives where we can meet trees who can walk, it's like Lord of the Rings.
Yay!
Yeah, because I love this thing.
Me too.
If trees think about living, it means that, well, there is this comedian George Carlin, and he used to say that the planet is alive. It's human who want and good. So if trees think about living, I think it also means that the nature around them is dead. Because if the nature is not dead, trees, why would they need to live? They can
that's a good question.
And then
that's a good question. Because it's time. Because they know it's time. Not necessarily because everything is dead and it's not nice to stay, but just because this reality is decomposing. It's not dead. It's just decomposing. Its time is out. So there's no point in staying, you see. So the trees are thinking. Here we see the trees are alive and sentient. They have consciousness, which of course they do, obviously. Thinking about living. And yes, like you say, if you think about trees, and usually you think about roots, either in Sergei's way, like connection to the past, or in the way of like being static. How trees sit where they sit. If they think about leaving, it means something unusual is going on. Because to this moment you may say, it's just the evening and everybody is going home. The birds are leaving because it's evening, they're going to sleep. But the trees thinking about leaving, that means something.
Which reminds me of something else that we mentioned a few months ago, the way everyone escapes an upcoming disaster when the comet is approaching Earth in the first movie.
Yeah.
Even the trees are running away.
Oh yeah, just because there's no point in staying, about leaving. We don't have a sense of danger in this poem. We don't feel like something awful is going to happen. It's like the reality is going to sleep. The reality is, really the world is decomposing. And the grass is trying to turn itself in. And if you say the trees are thinking about living too, maybe he's just poetic, maybe he's just being poetic. Yeah. But when he says the grass is trying to turn itself in, now that's action. something that grass is doing. Again, even grass, trees are big, grass is small. But on all levels, the same is happening. The grass is trying to get back into the ground. Yeah, turn itself in. Then interesting. Of course the buses no longer pass and the children no longer ask. So we kind of come back to the human world for a second with this little remark. Of course, the buses no longer pass. And again you may say, oh well, it's just because it's late. So of course the buses no longer pass. At the same time, no longer means never, ever again.
Well, again, the bus. I mean, isn't it true that when you sit somewhere all alone, you might feel lonely, but the thing that reconciles you with the reality is that reality does exist and that life is still going on, and the indication of a life still going on might be the kids who are playing on the playground and you can hear them, or the elderly people who are feeding the pigeons, or birds singing, or at least, if nothing of that sort can be had, there's a bus that passes by and you welcome it. If everything disappears, the reality becomes lifeless. And then you might also think, okay, there's no more life left. Is it because I am dead? Is it because everyone is dead but me?
Yeah, because it goes both ways, kind of relative. What really matters is, like they say, I think I mentioned it the other time, this nice line, which is like, it doesn't matter if you're alone or not, you are alone. It doesn't matter if you're alone or not, you are alone. It doesn't matter if you're alone or not, you are alone. So of course the bus is no longer pass. So a bus is what? Is a human thing, first of all, part of society. If the bus is no longer pass, means there's no society and no humans. And buses, that's something that takes you from here to there in human world. Again, it's a movement, it's a connection with places, it's the world being big and having places to go. And the bus is no longer pass. It may also mean that the world has disappeared and there's nowhere to go and no one to take you there. The buses. It's again, the buses, that's something irregular, constant.
Yeah, something you can count.
Supposed to be, at least. The buses no longer pass because everybody's passed. And the children no longer ask. And what about children no longer asking? Is that what children do?
Asking the questions.
So if you think it's the chess player who says it, then apparently the children would come and ask, oh, what are you doing here? What is it? Yeah, because that's what children do. They just come and ask if they want to know. They don't have problems with like just coming and asking. They can't play, but at least they can show their curiosity. And now the children no longer ask. So the buses no longer pass is something from the life of the adults, because that's who needs buses, who operates the buses. And the children no longer ask. So the clever, organized world of society isn't working. And the innocent layer has also gone, the level of being childish. So it's no longer here. So the buses no longer pass. Again, it's about order, because buses come, they have their times. And the children no longer ask. It's something spontaneous, something instant, impulsive, a bit chaotic, maybe unexpected. So that's disappearing. So finally we have children, not just the old man. We have children in here. And no longer asking. Again, there's nothing to explore, nothing to ask. And no one to answer, maybe. So children asking is like this life force. Because that's the life force which explores the universe around itself. Asking means exploring. So we don't have it anymore. So the world is ending. There's no point in starting something new, in starting a new exploration in this reality, because it's going away. Then we come back to nature, to elements. The air wants to go and is in discussions. That's a beautiful line. It's a beautiful line now. The air wants to go. It's like the trees are thinking, the air wants to go. Again, the air is alive. It's here at the moment, but it wants to go, is in discussions, and you feel the movement. Because what's the discussion is like air moving here and back again between people. So here, it's a bit funny because all discussions are a little bit meaningless. What's the point in your discussions if the world is ending? It's all just air moving here and there. At the same time, in discussions is in discussions, and you feel the air moving. So any metaphor, any image, it always works both ways. So if you say the air is in discussions, on one hand you say that the air is alive, it's talking, it's moving, discussing whether to go or to stay. At the same time, it works the other way too. So people are discussing something, they are like air, like just like moving air and nothing more. So it's a beautiful line which kind of merges the human society and nature, and meaning and lack of meaning. It's all in this line. So now what happens is when all people have left, what we have left is air. Because in the first part it's so crowded, there's so many people that we have no space whatsoever. We just have people and people and people and more people and more people. Then when they left, we have some trees and grass, but still they're kind of blocking the view. But still, at least we have some freshness. Now they have left, and we kind of clear the surroundings. Because when you say the bus is no longer pass, really what you do, you cancel not just the park, but the world around it too. Children no longer ask, they're running around, no more. Now what all that's left is air, the clouds, the sky. We go up, we look up now. The air can be just in front of you, but the clouds, that means we look up. There's nothing left on the ground. We got rid of trees and grass and buses. Now the only direction which is left is up. The clouds are trying to steer clear. Tell me about the clouds. is. Why steer clear? It's like...
Well, if there is something... If there is something stable, this is the sky and the clouds in the sky. Again, a reminder that life is continuing no matter what's happening here on planet Earth. Also, the clouds, if they are small, nice clouds, are symbols of the beginning of new life.
Could be.
But they are trying to steer clear. So if clouds are just the symbols of something new, something curious, something that is definitely welcome in the situation we're describing, they're steering clear means even those innocent kids are no longer interested in this world. They are no longer part of this world. Or I am made part of the world that excludes all of these above-mentioned people, plus the clouds and the air that is willing to go and probably just stays there to allow me some breathing space.
So I don't know if the clouds mean something new coming, because first of all, what do you think about clouds is that they're clouding, close, something that is hiding. So we don't know if they're nice little clouds, like you say. Still, clouds are like a veil, usually, something that hides. So here, the clouds are something in between air and the sky, or ground and the sky. The stars, the sky is behind the clouds. So they're in between, up and down, and they're trying to steer clear. Again, if you watch Yellow Submarine film, which is really fantastic, I guess everybody should watch it at some point. They have this nice little conversation like, "You've got to steer clear." Steer clear? Yes, dear. Clear? Yes, dear. So they're trying to steer clear. It's something like a celestial buses in some way, because steering is what you say about a ship or maybe a plane, steering, directing. Steer clear. Keep out, keep away, go away. And they're trying to do it. So again, we have words like the trees are thinking, the air wants to, the clouds are trying to. Not doing, but wanting, trying. But still we can see it and feel it. And the sky is reaching for its hands. Whoa, what is it? What a strange image. The sky with hands.
It is strange.
How do you explain it? How do you see it? How do you feel it? I don't know. I have no idea. Alexandra, do you have any ideas? Okay, apart from looking at the sky, so first air, then clouds, now sky, we look up, we go up. The sky is reaching for its hands. I don't know, ready to take some action maybe. I don't know. I have no idea. what it may mean.
Yeah, when we think about the sky, usually we think about something what has no limits, and it's not a figure, it's not a person, it's like this endless something which surrounds us everywhere, wherever we go. So maybe if he talks about that, it means that sky now has some kind of silhouette or maybe some kind of a certain form. So now we can see, well, not the actual hands, but maybe the edges or the lines, the border lines.
Could be.
So it's like the end of maybe it's like the end of the world, because now we can see where the sky ends.
Oh yeah, good idea. So the sky is reaching for its hands. Even the moon sees what's going on. So the moon is like stupid. Full moon, You're a full moon. Oh, I'm not full. You're a full moon.
And in some languages, full also means drunk. So full moon is a drunk moon.
Yeah, I bet. Maybe. But here, if even the moon sees what's going on, means that moon is not very bright. Yeah, the moon is just reflecting. The moon isn't very bright. But what we have here, we have the moon, not the sun. So we have an idea of an evening, because until now we did not have the image of an evening. We kind of figured it out because everybody's living, well, maybe because it's the evening, but we don't know. Now the sun has left too. We don't see it at all. It's not mentioned. But we see the moon, so it marks like twilight, night coming. So we need to put in the moon to set up the evening, to set up the twilight, the night, the nighttime again. The lights going out, the world is plunging into darkness, again vanishing slowly into this peaceful darkness. Because still we have no sense of danger, or we have no sense of something going wrong. We just feel like, it's time. So they're all living. But the stars remain in the dark. So for this line to work, first we need to make it dark. So we introduce the moon which is not bright, but which brings in evening time, darkness. Now we can move on to the stars. And the stars remain in the dark, so we can see them really well. We can see their light in the darkness. You make it dark so you can see the stars. And the stars remain in the dark. So the stars are immortal. The stars are not touched. So it's your reality down here which gets decomposed. The stars are not bothered. The stars remain in the dark. And now the stars are like really like pieces of chess on the board of darkness, a little bit, as does the chess player. So the stars are connected with the chess, and the chess player is connected with stars. And so the game, the stars, the game remains.
The game remains, but being in the dark means also being unaware of what's going on.
Not necessarily.
Not necessarily. So it's not because the chess player and the stars are the only ones that are unaware of what's happening. Not necessarily, okay.
It could be, yes. Very often when we say dark, it means just that we don't understand it, like dark matter, black stars. Just because we don't understand it, so we use the word dark and black, because we have no idea. We need to invent something clever to explain how we don't understand it. So instead of saying, oh, we don't know, we don't understand, we just say, oh, it's dark matter. Literally. So on one hand, remaining in the dark, but the stars shine their light. The stars themselves are shining. They're in the dark. Everything else has left. They all have left. That light remains. The game remains. So the pieces in position remind us of stars. They are as eternal as the stars, and the stars remind us of chess pieces on the board. And the chess player becomes as eternal as the stars, obviously, because it says here plainly. And we see how everything else gets decomposed except for the stars. So now we have the chess player as big, strong, celestial, important, eternal, shining as the stars. As does the chess player. So he is the ultimate order. He is the one who remains. The chess player is the one who represents the highest order. And in many cases, you may say that God is the chess player, in a way. So, except that here, who sits with all his pieces in position. You say, yeah, okay, God is a chess player, but he never moves any of the pieces. So we have many images of God like the mechanic who makes the universe and starts it going, and then it just goes on and on and on without any interruption. Or God as a chess player who moves the pieces. Or there are many different images which appear in different time periods when it was most actual for people, obviously, because we start seeing what we see in ourselves and our society, and we reflect it in how we see the reality around us, always. So who sits with all his pieces in position? So like we say, it's the highest order. He is sitting. But if the old men on the benches, it was like being inactive, because they're old, they're not doing anything. Here, sitting means being ready for action, not being lazy and inactive, but being ready for the action. Because the second somebody takes the opposite space and moves the first, or makes the first move, then this stasis would be broken. So this sitting and waiting is not passive. It has enormous power in it, potentially. All his pieces in position. So they have all left, but his pieces are all here. All in position, again, in order. Yeah, so we just move through different layers of order to the highest order and personality. And you can see him like floating in endless space among stars, being like one of the stars. Yeah, with his pieces. Comments?
Yeah.
Comments? Comments?
So are they really immovable? I mean, the pieces?
No, he's waiting for someone to take the opposite space. You see? Nobody has reached the same level as to come and play with him. So there's no point in moving the chess pieces.
Okay.
So as you can see, there are again always different ways of reading it. Could be a poem about ultimate loneliness, or when nobody understands him, or it could be about moving to order. Could be something more universal. More comments, Alexandra? Anything to say? Okay, then we can...
Everything.
We may just point out at the structure how all lines are simple phrases ending. Each one is ending. They're never continuing to this next line apart from who sits with all his pieces in position, because in position is really important, because they have never been moved. It's really, really important, so it goes to the next line. But apart from it, they're all finished. Every line is a decomposition in itself. Nothing is continued.
You just said about the lines, and I also thought that in chess, when you when you start to think about which figure you're going to use, how you're going to go, and after that you move this figure, you make the decision goes to your opponent. So I just thought that maybe there is a link to the structure of the poem.
Yeah, so, I think so. So each line is like you make a move and you pause, and then there's the next move, which is exactly what is happening, because they are decomposing the reality. They are, okay, the first move is to decompose the pigeon feeders. What's the next move? Let us think, let us see. Then you touch the next figure, and that's the old man on the benches. And then you finish your move, because each move has to be finished before you move to the next one. I think there's a connection. Anything else? So let's finish here. So it's an amazing little poem, but quite